Canadian multinational operator of convenience stores Alimentation Couche-Tard announced its business strategy update, where the company hit reset on its long-term growth target. So let's get more on this from Martin Landry, Managing Director of Equity Research of Consumer Products and Merchandising at Stifel. It's good to have you join us today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm wondering what stands out to you in the latest report from Couche-Tard. I know that you highlighted an algorithm growth was introduced. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, the last 5-year plan that the company introduced in 2023 was a hard number, $10 billion of EBITDA to reach in 28. Unfortunately, the company faced, a tough economy in the U.S., consumers curbing their spending and reducing their trips. So they had to reset expectations, and instead what they did is they've introduced a simple growth algorithm to help investors model what the company's growth would look like for the next 5 years, all the way up to fiscal 30. And it's calling for an EPS growth CAGR above 10% for that period. So I think it's fair, it was well received, and it's simple to understand.
There was also some deeper discussion on same-store sales growth drivers, and that included nicotine. Can you talk about how big of a revenue source nicotine is for a company like Couche-Tard?
Yeah, it must be. It is counterintuitive that nicotine could be a revenue growth driver these days, but there are some shifts in consumption patterns in the U.S. Consumers are shifting to those nicotine pouches that you put under your lips, and it is a very popular product. It has a higher price point, margins that are twice as high as cigarettes. So it is a growth category, tobacco overall, and not only cigarettes, but tobacco and white nicotine, and is a growing category for Couche-Tard and for the convenience store channel. And that led the company to guide for a 2 to 3% growth in merchandise sales over the next 4 years for the company.
Not sure that's a good thing, but I guess that's a good thing for the company itself. When you're talking about new stores that are going to be added, there's some pretty ambitious plans to add a lot of new stores over the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's also something different versus the last 5-year plan. There was a lot of focus on organic growth, and one of the pillars of the company's organic growth is to build new stores. They aim to add 750 new stores over the next 5 years. That's the equivalent of growing the network by 5%. It's pretty large, and these stores have a higher profitability. They generate 3 times more EBITDA than an average store. So it has an impact on the top line, but also a pretty sizable impact on the bottom line.
Okay, so new stores coming. There's also discussion on new distribution centers as well. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Couche-Tard is supplying its stores directly in 3 regions right now: Texas, Arizona, and Quebec. And they are adding a couple more regions in the Midwest. They are building 3 new distribution centers to supply 1,600 new stores. And what that allows the company is more flexibility, right? They can supply their stores at the right time of the day. They can source the products from the CPGs at probably better prices than some of their distributors at this point, and it's going to be margin accretive. So that is another driver of margin growth for the company.
There was also talk about the loyalty program. I didn't realize it was so big. The loyalty program's apparently reached 12 million members. What are some of the discussions and the goals around expanding even that further?
Yeah. Couche-Tard has made a ton of progress in the last 18 months on its digital journey and with its loyalty program. As you said, 12 million members that are active, that get promotions as they show up at the pump. They get promotions to go in store. And it is a big uplift in terms of revenues for the company. It also helps to target promotions. Don't have to have the entire store on sale, but exactly what the customer is looking for. So it's margin accretive as well. So that is data and the digital journey has been taking a lot of room during the discussions yesterday at the business update strategy.
What about the prospect of mergers and acquisitions in the future? Obviously, Couche-Tard was trying to take over the owner of the 7-Eleven stores. That didn't work out. Is there anything else that they're looking towards, or maybe no mergers and acquisitions for right now?
Yeah, well, as you know, the success of the company over the last 25 years has been through M&A. They've consolidated the convenience store industry in the U.S. and in Europe. It is still a fragmented industry. Couche-Tard's got 7% market share right now, so still extremely fragmented. So a lot of consolidation opportunities. One of the issues that the company is facing is that valuations have gone up, right? We see it in the public equities. Valuations are rich, and that's translated into expectations on the private side as well. So, they say that the deal pipeline is extremely healthy and full right now, but they will remain very disciplined on pricing.
Okay, so that's maybe one headwind. Is there any other headwinds that you're kind of watching out for this company moving forward?
Look, I mean, the company has had, several quarters of negative earnings growth, and now we're at an inflection point where earnings are trending positively, and that's, I think, what's attracting investors' attention. Same thing with merchandise, same-store sales in the U.S. They were negative for several quarters, and now that's inflected. So we feel it's a great time to revisit the story. We feel like the company's got momentum. They talked about that momentum continuing into Q3. So it's why the shares have been performing well over the last 2 weeks.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Martin Landry, Managing Director and Equity Researcher of Consumer Products and Merchandising at Stifel. It's good to have you. Thanks so much for joining us.